Ebusia, and then the NPP for you almost saved the judiciary demonstration. Na Manasseh Azure, one of the most credible journalists of work room has say, Edin Sembia Kotu ja on Facebook page. Na watoto bi the amani NPP for ye. Na yademo kosa ansema Manasseh editu jana or say, me widiatre or say, those who bypassed hardworking judges and packed the top court with politicians and affiliates are out there to save the judiciary. Ti Manasseh patch let's say MPP for omo bypass judges o ma ye adwuma yie ekofa politicians unim say oko Supreme Court wa one of the judges no ye MPP parliamentary candidate ewo voter region and Akufo-Addo appointing as so ye Supreme Court judge NDC the asem ko Supreme Court otisubi ti ye Manasseh kan nyina ne say judge for ma ye adwuma wo se ye fa wo mu like ye promote mo ko Supreme Court no anam ko manim ne ya anye yet the politicians any affiliates na alcohol na the MPP for this same MPP for not done no say omo be save the judiciary because Chief Justice aya there enya President Mahama epeso oyi ni firi ho into omo save the judiciary that this is the message Manasseh Azure atoto de amane eye MPP any afenyo market owi ya nso ha ena lecturer senior lecturer UCC eye Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre and so to be the amani MPP ni afenyo marking say this Supreme Court na OCC and all the judges, most of the judges na Akufo-Addo na appoint mo na no me bias and simply about Supreme Court will be a judgment on the ban according to Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre. It doesn't make sense into one of the ones as a Chief Justice aye bibia enyankwa dia was say President Mahama efamra kwan so edi ni firo mumyenko tie nsema ye Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre a senior lecturer ewo UCC edi tudwa efa this MPP save the judiciary demonstration no moyan mumyenko tie nsema edi tudwa.
Hold on for just hold on there for me briefly as we get to engage Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre, who is a political analyst and senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Jamal.
Hello, Doc. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. I mean, the NPP deciding this morning, together with other political parties, they say, not happy with how His Excellency is dealing with judiciary. You think they have a point?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say good morning to your good self, to those in the studio, and to the valued listeners. It is unfortunate that the MPP-led demonstration, they have virtually turned this constitutional, procedural, administrative thing into something very political and very partisan. And if you ask me, it is just unfortunate that some people could easily be manipulated into following them. If it is a matter of the politics of it, well, then they are very right to go on demonstrating. But if it is the constitutional approach of which I see the President, the Council of State, the committee, and all those who must within this, then obviously what they are doing is much ado about nothing.
Really? Why do you say as much ado about nothing?
If it is the politics of it, because they have virtually strayed off from talking about the constitutionality of the process, but they are reading meanings into the constitutionality of the process.
Is it wrong to read meanings into it?
Political, it's politics. And so, obviously, what the process the president is following is more political to them than a constitutional provision or administrative kind of thing that the president is doing. In actual fact, what I see is that they are acting, construe to me like the chief justice, the chief justice is first an NPP person. I don't see that there is an assault on the judiciary, because if we are talking of assault on the judiciary, we were in this country that the previous government and the president of Akufo-Addo appointed as many as whatever number you can count at the Supreme Court. Even if you combine the period of Mr. Rawlings Mr. Kufo and that of Mills, and that of even Mr. Mahama can't be corrected. That could not even bring out to the 8 years that President Akufo-Addo nominated and appointed certain numbers, of the judiciary to the Supreme Court. That for me is also an affront of the judiciary. We have seen a situation where the Chief Justice, for example, gave the Supreme Court in 2019. In no time, it made the Chief Justice. You cannot, blame the president. Now, I have sat down and asked myself that if somebody can get to the Supreme Court in 2019, meet her senior, and she is appointed as the Chief Justice, then it means that this appointment process for a Chief Justice is political. It is more political than merely a constitutional kind of thing. So you could see that the actions of the suspended Chief Justice were more or less, she just under to the whims and caprices of the government. Maybe that may not be part of the petition. But if we are looking at the constitutional provision, if you ask me once again, I can see authoritatively that if you read what the GBA put out there, the first one, which was a very mild position of the GBA, they never in any way altered the process as being unconstitutional, which is far different from the second one, which I see it as gibberish. The most gibberish statement to come from a defunct Ghana Bar Association that only gets resurrected when there is a particular party in government. And you see, that is why everybody is following them to order. They have lost credibility. And so in all of this, the president, the council of state, they have nothing on board. You see, the process has not even started. And yet, they think that the woman is going to be removed. And that's the more reason why they have turned it into a political matter. And I think that has rather created more problems for the Chief Justice than, anything advantageous, if you ask me.
But Doc, is it not also a case that even before the election and after the election, one leading members of the current administration have said that the judiciary needs a reset and then Madam CJ has to go? And with all that is happening now, is it also not a case of someone also thinking that maybe, just maybe, this whole thing is planned?
Well, there are certain political statements that are made. I have never liked the situation where the Chief Justice, during her vetting, she was asked, can you convince me otherwise that my parents who are Ghanaians by name, their names are on my birth certificate, they have given that to me. And you sit there and come out with a judgment telling me that my birth certificate is not indicative of my Ghanaianness. Such a warped judgment. Such a warped judgment. Because parents that are foreigners, their names indicate. But you're telling me that the Ghana card, which was given birth not long ago, is that which determines my Ghanaianness. Not because you just wanted to tilt judgment to favor a certain rank. Some of these things I've never been happy with anyone. To be frank with you, I've never been happy with that particular judgment alone. As for other things, I don't want to go into it. I have received reports of people who were workers of the judiciary, for example, who you see in the public sector. When somebody does something untoward, what to do is set up a committee to investigate. Committees have investigated the misconduct of various judiciary service workers. And they come out with recommendations, maybe 3 months suspension without arrest. I have heard, and they have complained to me, that the Chief Justice will elevate that suspension to dismissal. And I have somebody like that in Cape Coast here, who was summarily dismissed. When in actual fact, the committee had recommended 3 or 4 months suspension without pay. Such an action, which for me purports to relate to ultra violence on the part of the Chief Justice, you would definitely have petitions asking for your removal. And so those political statements were made. Some of them, I think some of them too have been twisted here and there. If you look at what Mr. Manasseh said with respect to meeting lawyers who are affiliated to the NPP, he said that you make frantic effort to get to the bar. It shouldn't always be private practice and just making money. Because if you are complaining today, that is then, that the judiciary is filled with NPP-oriented judges, what are you also doing? The party must make frantic effort to convince those within their faith to get to the bench. That is what he said.
Are you in any way suggesting that the 7 additional judges that have been nominated in the last few days are NDC judges?
I didn't say that. But you see, if you overlook a Dennis, whom I have listened to some lawyers, some of whom are MPP colleagues, even within the University of Cape Coast, what they tell you about Dennis, Justice Dennis, his writing, my goodness, how can such a person be overlooked for 8 solid years? It is very political. You see, some of them have been due to be there long time ago, and yet they have not. You can even talk of the for example, how vindictively he was transferred. Some of these things, are administrative maneuvering that tend to cower, that tend to put fear in those who are critical of the service or the system. So, even if people make a podcast statement that, this person, if you want to do judiciary setting, so must be done, blah, blah, blah. Those things sometimes are political. What if, when you came, those things, there are no stated misconduct on the part of the Chief Justice, what would you have done? Don't forget that Theodora Wood, Auntie Theodora Wood, was appointed by Kufo. President Mills came, he maintained her. Mr. Mahama took over, she was still maintained until she went on retirement. Why are we not making reference to that? Because it's transiting between 2 different governments. It is about conducting yourself appropriately. I think that what the NPP is doing, they are just trying to obfuscate the issues. They've not been able to critically come out with constitutional infractions on the part of what the President, the Council of State, the committee, or whoever is doing. If that is the case, that is why I said that what they are doing is just noise making. They just want people to see that suddenly, 3-4 months, the tables are turned and everything is wrong. My goodness, that cannot be.
But Doc, if we can look at it from the other angle as well, where you have leading members of the NPP also saying that at some point, we don't know when, at some point, if they also end up in power, they will do everything possible to rewrite the story. Is that where we should be leading the country to, on the back of what is happening now and what they also intend to do?
Any misconduct on the part of the Chief Justice, while there is a change of government, if the previous government did not see the need to put, but somebody will have to write petition that a people person must be established or determined. So if there are no misconduct, I don't think that any president, whether it's an NPP president, can easily say that somebody to come up with some petition so that we'll find a means of removing the Chief Justice. I think that the NPP did a lot of empowering. Look at the way and Manasseh was removed. It's not supposed to be a state for that. But in terms of judicial process and processes that are judicious, they conducted themselves very aberratively, and they don't deserve any kind of sympathy for the country. But if this demonstration is to create some kind of awareness that they are alive, well, that is okay. But in terms of what the Constitution provides, I don't think that the President has any. The President has not even said a word. Look, what the petitions percent. Even people who are close to government have never had access to these petitions. They have never had access. If you ask people, they say they don't have it. They've not seen it. How did it come out? Just because the President sent the petition to the Chief Justice for response. She asked for President. The President gave it 10 in a magnanimous manner. What do we do? Suddenly, the petition, the responses, everything come up. How did that happen? How did that happen? So you see, I think that the intervention and interferences of the NPP and with other minor political parties that we are talking about, they have not in any way helped the issue of the Chief Justice. They have not. Because once they have turned it into a political playground, and the party that is in government still have the one without, I don't think they'll be turning back. Remember that the committee will even have to establish the guilt or otherwise of the Chief Justice in terms of the content of the petition. If these things do not see the light of day, a woman will definitely be restored. But if somebody like Professor Azure to write a petition to the former president Akufo, and he did not see anything worth investigation, that is quite unfortunate that the former president himself did not in any way help the Chief Justice.
But Doc, again, the issue with the number of judges that have been nominated, that takes us to something around 20 and beyond. In as much as the Constitution is not clear on a cap, because from what I've read, there's no cap there, do we need that number of judges at the Supreme Court in a small country like Ghana?
Well, I don't think we need that. But if you listen to the very suspended Chief Justice, the number goes to as far as 17. And the rationale, the reason was that the gap at the Supreme Court is so huge that they need more numbers. That was the justification. This could be as a result of constitutional deficiency. And you cannot blame the president who feels that some erstwhile president did not, from a moral perspective, see the need to limit the number, but just to keep appointing. Then, if he also wants to see that judicial reform, and you see, a situation where the previous Chief Justice had set up an automated kind of choosing of judges. Now, the woman sidestepped that particular process, and she single-handedly chooses those who she impanels. That is very political. So suddenly I hear GPA asking the acting Chief Justice to reinstall that. You did not see that what the previous Chief Justice was doing, dismantling that process, was something that was untoward. He never said anything. Now you're asking the acting Chief Justice to do so. In as much as the number may be too huge, I hope that Professor, his Constitutional Review Committee may have to propose something in that effect, in that line. Then maybe we can have a ceiling, because it is not just merely a political decision. It comes at a cost to the nation, because these Supreme Court judges, appeal court judges, as they retire on their salary, and they are paid until the time that they die. And it comes at a huge cost, because these people are Article 71 office holders. And as a nation, as we want to reduce our cost of expenditure, I think we must have everything in that line. I don't know those who are due for retirement, for which reason the president will not pay this service. But we have to find out from an investigative, perspective, whether these people are not qualified to be there. How many of them have been delayed? And I mentioned the Bennett. as an example. So we may have reason to express some discomfiture with respect to the numbers that are getting there. But are they qualified? Yes. Is it the case that some who were not qualified were jumped to get to the Supreme Court during Mr. Kufuor's era, Yes, the case is yes.
Doc, finally, I want us to look at the Council of States and the role they have played in all of this. The Constitution is very clear that the President, in consultation with the Council of States, but I've also been very strong comments not going in their direction on the back of the fact that a number of these officials may be aligned to the political party in power. 16 of them, for example, are from the regions, and we know and saw all that happened together with the other appointees and all of that. There have also been calls for that to be scrapped entirely. In fact, Professor Prempeh has written on his Facebook wall that he is getting a lot of comments in that direction. Should there be that body that will be determining a case like this?
Well, we've not had. I think that Professor Prempeh himself thinks that the Council of State is still relevant and it must be. You see, being a member of the Council of State and determining an issue such as this, the removal of the Chief Justice, you must always, first of all, be very conscious of your integrity, not now, in the future. For some of us, if I don't see anything wrong in this, whether I was appointed or whatever, I will not be passed. I will not, because my conscience will not forgive me to establish a prima facie when I think that there is no prima facie. How do you convince me that you can convert that which is an official trip into a private trip? Go on a holiday or vacation with your family, your spouse, your daughter. Pay them per diem from state coffers. I mean, there can never be any misconduct as huge as this. I think it is, as Professor Mills said to Muntaka, there was lack of discretion on the part of the Chief Justice. And this is not to sound prejudicial, but this is stated misconduct. I don't know whether the Judiciary Secretary, Madam Pamela, might have misled her, but she should also have read in between the lines. That, for me, is a misconduct. And as to whether it warrants a removal, that one, the decision is for the process and for them to come out. I think that if you have somebody like Mr. Domivo as a member of the committee, he doesn't care whether he was nominated by the president or not. Once it is not right, that man will say it is not right. And it doesn't matter whether he was mistreated when they filed a case for him at this very same Supreme Court, of which the Chief Justice is now becoming a victim. He is a huge man of integrity. I've never seen his kind. I've never met his kind. As I'm telling you, if indeed they come out to say that this prima facie and whatever, that is adjudication process that will take place, the woman is guilty and he's part, I can tell you what, Mr. Jumon, then it means that he's guilty. Because that man is not a pushover. So as for the Council of State, I think that if they feel so strongly about the Council of State, its relevance and other things, the President has given the mandate to the Constitutional Review Committee to go about, come out with whatever, and then I think that the President is really unwilling to implement them.
Well, let's see how the whole process plays out. And maybe in the coming weeks and months, we will see how far this goes. Doc, thank you for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
So that's Dr. Jonathan Asante Oshiri.